Hey there, Variety here. Welcome to today's video in which we're going to be talking about the Tarisland official global announcement day. And we're going to be talking about a bunch of the changes that Tarisland have made between the global beta 2 and the current 3-day test that is actually happening right now. So Tarisland has officially announced that the Chinese start will be on the 19th of June. And it has announced that the global official start date will be on the 21st of June. So there's going to be a 2-day gap between China and global. We're unsure how they're going to sync up the dungeons and raids for World's First. We're still waiting on some more information for that. But putting that aside, we now know the official date of Tarisland. We can talk about some of the updated information that has been coming out over the last couple of months and the last test. So if you watched any videos on Tarisland even a couple of months ago, I'm sure the videos would have been something like unbalanced, unfair, pay to win, and they wouldn't have been incorrect. They advertised a game that wouldn't be heavily pay to win, and the Global 2 beta was pretty bad. If I had to give it, on a scale against average MMOs, putting aside, gacha games where you roll for, star characters, I probably would have given it a 7 or an 8. It was pretty bad. But fortunately, over the last year, they've made a lot of changes. So let's get into some of the changes they've made. So before you were able to buy gold bags with real-life money and then send that gold to people, it was glorified real-world trading. This has been removed from global, so that is a great thing. Before, you could buy gold, which you can still do now, but you were able to buy really powerful crafted gear, and it made you so powerful that you would win in PvP and you would win in PvE. They have made the crafted gear way less powerful in comparison to the gear that you get from raiding and doing high tier dungeons. So the crafted gear, while may give you a leg up initially, when you're getting into dungeons, it fast becomes irrelevant. So that's not really such an issue anymore. Before, you were able to buy dust through boxes, which allowed you to upgrade your inscribed stones. For those that don't understand what inscribed stones are, think of it as basically extra stat lines and extra just boosts, and it was unbelievably powerful. It basically made you a god. They've completely removed the inscribed stone from exploration, so you don't have to grind, a lot of hours for it anymore. And they've removed the ability to trade it, so now you have to collect it on your own. So now people can no longer instantly buy basically godhood, power levels, in the first couple of days by buying all the dust on the server. So that reduced a lot of the pay to win right there. They reworked crafting, they made it more balanced, more fair, the gear not as powerful compared to raid tier gear. Honestly, the system makes a lot more sense now, and it feels better to use than it was. It's not perfect, but it has come a long way. So there are two different types of PvP right now. I believe there is Arena and Battlefields. So the way I understand it is, I think Battlefields, your gear still matters, but the balanced arena, as the name implies, is now balanced. So no matter what gear or what level you are, you can go into Arena and it's completely skill-based now because everybody's stats are, changed to what your class should be to make PvP balanced. If you want skill-based, Arena PvP, then Tarisland will give that to you without you having to go and grind PvE, and you can't pay to win your way through it either. Before, I would have given it a 7 or an 8. Now, I would give it a 3. It's not perfect, but, it's less than most MMOs, and it's definitely on the lesser end. So much so that it's pretty much irrelevant. Most people won't even notice the small things. There's a bit of gold you can do, you can transfer to a bit of silver, which it's terrible conversion, and you can get some auto fishing. So the advantages are there, but it's basically irrelevant, right? So if you were concerned about the pay to win aspect in Tarisland, they were pretty much squashed it to the point where it's not really an issue anymore. So they've also made other changes to the game. They've made it so your time is more valued. So they've made it more casual friendly. So what they've done is there is a couple of different tiers of content. So you have normal tier, you have elite tier, and then you have challenge tier. Then of course you have raiding, and then you have the Arcane Realms, which is basically mythic dungeons that get more difficulty, you know, as you go up in the levels. So they've made the lower tier content, like they've made the questing and like the normal and maybe the elite, they've made it easier, right? So they've made it so everybody, including people on mobile, can access 85% of the game, maybe even 90% of the game without feeling like they've been pushed out because, you know, they don't have all day to grind, they don't have, you know, a powerful PC. They've made it so most content can be accessed by everybody. Much more, you know, friendly for the global audience. However, on the top, so like, you know, challenging content, so you have the challenging dungeon content, and you have the challenger raids. They've added, you know, there's things at the top now, so it's like cosmetics, so like there's mount and outfits you get. So there's visual things that you can get to show other people, like, hey, I've completed the hardest, you know, hero content in the game. So there's now stuff for harder people and, you know, way more open content for people that don't have, you know, their entire life to throw into the game. So, you know, it values your time. They've moved a lot of stuff into like a daily/weekly system, and there's also catch-up mechanics. So, you know, if you're unable to log in for a day, it'll help you the next day. There's really a lot of things they've done to make it more accessible to more people, which just across the board has been good. So before, exploration was absolutely required because it was like rewards that were unbelievably overpowered stuffed into it. It's still important for you to do, but it's not so critical now. You can, you know, stretch it out, you know, do a little bit of exploration here, a little bit of exploration there, combined with the other things that you're doing, the dungeons and the raids and, you know, the reputation grinding. So there's definitely stuff that you still need to do, right? Like if you want flying, you need to get reputation. If you want to get talent points, you need to go do certain things, right? So there are definitely other gameplay outside of like going dungeon 2 times a day, going raid. You know, there's definitely other things like that, but it's not so forced now where it feels like you need to just play, like, you know, some other MMOs make you do. So they've also made a bunch of changes to make it just easier on mobile. There has been a significant mobile update that they've introduced that the player base has not been too keen on. I'm not going to go into that because it still hasn't been confirmed, and, you know, I guess it's still in discussion with the devs and the player base. And up to this point, the devs have been very receptive to our feedback. They've not only just said, hey, we've heard your feedback, they've actually changed and reworked entire features to, you know, make the game what we want, not the game they want, with a little bit of a wrapper on it to make it appear more like what we want, like many, you know, developers do. They're also adding more guild related content, so there's now guild questing and, you know, a reason to, you know, create communities, and there's been talk of creating a wildy system where you'll be able to do open world PvP, but it won't be the type of PvP where you're running around and questing and getting killed. No casual wants that. It'll be like a designated zone for server-based open world PvP and stuff like that. So if that's your kind of thing, that is definitely in discussion. So they've added a lot of content, they've made a lot of content, you know, more available to more people, and they've really drastically reduced the pay-to-win aspect and made the game more accessible and enjoyable all around. If you were turned off by the pay-to-win aspect of Tarisland like 6 months ago, 12 months ago, I would strongly recommend that you take another look at the game, because the game is just simply different from what it was 6 to 12 months ago. I will be covering Tarisland pretty heavily, and I've actually been enjoying this game a lot. I'm not the type of person to tell you a game is good and I'm enjoying it if I'm not. That's not who I am. So you can trust me when I say that I am having a lot of fun in this game with 9 different classes, and every class having 2 different specs, 18 different ways to play your class. I'm having a blast, so I'll be creating a lot of content on this game. So next you hear from me will be more videos closer to launch for Tarisland. Anyway, I hope I've, you know, given you more updated information than some of the videos that just focused on the pay-to-win aspects of Tarisland, which are no longer relevant. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.